Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there, so please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money, so check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Niall, and this is a bit of a celebration episode for us because we actually we got to see each other in person, and we didn't. I was about to say we didn't do anything for you fuckers. It was just some time to hang out with my friend, but we did actually watch this. We did actually watch something that we're going to talk about today. But I just wanted to start off by saying it's fun to see your friends. Like, especially when you don't get to see them very often, it's very nice to have a friend come over and spend some time together and watch kind of bad movies, you know?
Yeah, it was. When was the last time we got to hang out in the same room? I mean, we did get to hang out with Garrett. Was that last year? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I think that was last year.
It's, there's a significant distance between all three of us now, which is it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's nice to hang out. So I relished the opportunity to hang out with both of you. It was a great time, and we did just kind of say, like you said, nothing for you fuckers. Not exactly. Like, kind of. There's something for us to talk about now. But while we were together, it was like, I don't want to record. I just want to hang out, eat pizza.
We had a very limited amount of time, and neither of us wanted to spend it recording for that day.
So it was a good time, and it was great seeing Niall. And we did talk. We did decide that something fun kind of lined up with us being there, which is the recent release of the documentary Saucers, Spooks and Kooks that came out this year. And geez, let me tell you what I know about Saucers, Spooks and Kooks. One, I actually own the book, and it's on my list. It's something I'm planning on reading within the next couple months. I don't know whether it's come across on the podcast, but I've been doing a lot of reading, and I'm all over the fucking place right now. But I'm gonna make good on my my promise to read books that pertain to these subjects on the podcast. I've got a bunch of UFO books. Actually, let me just give you a rundown of the stuff that I'm gonna try and get finished this year. Mm-hmm. I got a book about Gray Barker that came out last year. I'm really excited about that because Gray Barker, super, super interesting character in the history of UFOs. And this guy who, I'm not going to come up with all these names off the top of my head, but there was a guy who got to go to Gray Barker's archives and scour them and just put together a great book on the guy. So I've got that. I also have the book for this documentary, Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks, and I'm planning on getting into that. Now, this documentary, just so we're clear, it's based off of the book, which is written by Adam Gorightly, right? Who, Adam Gorightly is a guy who I think has been doing stuff in the realm of UFOs and even just New Age, woo-woo, the Fortean. He's been doing this for a really long time. The documentary is directed by, Christopher Grayball, I want to say is his name. Graybill, that's the name. Which I'm not familiar with Graybill, but that's who's behind this project. Now, Here's the thing, Niall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I have Me Labs, by the way. That's the other book. Who they have? I think it's Helmut Lammer. That's another book that I'm going to be getting through, and that's going to be actually relevant to all of this.
Yeah.
And another book that's relevant to this story is Project Beta by Greg Bishop, which specifically is about the Bennewitz Affair, or the Bennewitz, whatever you want to call it. I think,
yeah, he was in this documentary.
Yes. So, geez, where to begin? This is about the story in the history of UFOs that just won't die, and it probably shouldn't. And if for people who are unaware, I did a thing on Paul Bennewitz on like UFO disinformation campaigns and stuff. It's been a couple years now. Probably worth revisiting the topic, especially once I get through some of the books that I'm going through.
Yeah, that's because this documentary, there was so much that we had covered, but there were a couple aspects that we didn't fully get to that are interesting. So I mean, Bennewitz, I'm not going to get too far ahead of us here, but this documentary presents a pretty interesting and compelling case of what they think is happening, and Paul Bennewitz is very much at the core of it.
Yeah, okay. So here's my brief rundown of Bennewitz for people who maybe don't know. And if you aren't familiar, this might be a good documentary to go check out. But I would recommend, if you aren't familiar with any of this stuff and you want to check this out, here's my big recommendation. Get a notepad and a pencil, because you're going to have to remember a lot of names and locations, and I think Jules said proper nouns. But because there's a lot of... There's just so many names and things to keep track of here.
Whereas... for those of us that have been through the multi-part episodes and the disinformation arc that Kyle went through and everything, there's really only one proper noun that you guys need to remember, and that is Junichi's Yaoi UFO special. Which they keep showing little clips from, and now is like, I need to go and look for this and find this, and we got to watch it. Yeah. Probably for the podcast. I don't know. We'll watch it. I'm going to watch it regardless.
It looks
whether or not
awesome.
We make something out of it.
They
do so many recreations and like film footage and stuff. It rules.
So Bennewitz, Paul Bennewitz, the short version of the story is that he was a scientist who also was a UFO enthusiast. And on top of being a UFO enthusiast, I want to be very clear, too. He is a UFO guy who also believes in extraterrestrials, that UFO... Like, he seems to have been into the extraterrestrial hypothesis of UFOs, which, for the time that this takes place, is not as wild, I think, if you were to compare it to everything that comes after the Bennewitz Affair, right? Like, I think that the question of extraterrestrials is because the UFO question is so up in the air from like the 50s, 60s, and even a little bit into the 70s. I think it makes some sense that people would be much more willing to entertain the extraterrestrial hypothesis. So, because it wasn't as readily available to sort of see things about the UFO phenomenon and its history and draw definitive conclusions. We've talked about our personal beliefs on this podcast a number of times. I personally don't think that there's aliens visiting Earth. That's me. Mm-hmm. But during the sort of like heyday of the UFO, the early decades of it, you've got this like you've got all this like science fiction material in the culture that is it runs parallel, right, with the UFO phenomenon as it's happening, and sort of gets imbued into it in these interesting ways. Now, I think, knowing what we know, now that we have decades of history and material on UFOs and big things like Roswell, for instance, like if you're not a nerd about UFOs, you still probably know about the Roswell incident. Although that would be an interesting thing to know is there a cutoff of awareness for Roswell now in the cultural consciousness? Because I sort of imagine yes, because who the fuck is talking about Roswell in 2026?
that is the thing, is like that I've more on the bonus shows, but I've talked about the kind of like idea of the death of the monoculture and stuff, and everyone kind of getting it's the thing that happens when you have an algorithm. Your whole like news and societal intake comes from an algorithm that's just trying to hit your dopamine button over and over.
Yeah,
is that you don't end up getting just the general shit.
Right.
And I would be very curious if like, is there a kid that doesn't know what Roswell is or Bigfoot that is like has been around long enough that that if in a different era they definitely would have, that would be interesting.
And I think Bigfoot's even more enduring than Roswell, simply because Roswell is it's relegated to history by the fact that we have a current even more stupid UFO situation in the culture, like, whereas Bigfoot is Bigfoot forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Bigfoot is more likely to show up as a cultural reference than Roswell. So
yes. So to get back to Bennewitz, he was a scientist. He believed in UFOs and aliens, as far as I can tell, and he saw something weird in the desert one night and started documenting it. This was out by an Air Force base, and he reports on it to the Air Force, and the Air Force basically proceeds to torment him.
Ruin his life.
Just ruin his life. So
it's
there's a lot of characters here. I think we're going to just kind of give a general discussion about the thing, because if we start talking characters, then we'll be here forever. Go watch the documentary. It's $5 to rent, $10 to own. I now currently own it because I'm gonna want to go back to it. But
yep, it's a good not to get ahead of myself, but I might keep it too.
Yeah, so that's what it's about, and I think here's why Paul Bennewitz, the Bennewitz Affair, will never die. Especially in the context of today's UFO situation with, the fuckers like Lou Elizondo. Bennewitz, when you start to dig into the story and you start to uncover the characters and start to speculate about why any of this happened,
yep, it
calls into question the entire mythology of UFOs in the United States. It starts to unravel the conversation where you can maybe entertain the idea of aliens. Because what's very clear is that there are people in the intelligence community, in the military, who had a reason to sow such unbelievable chaos and disinformation into the people who are interested in trying to figure out what UFOs are, that it's connected to all, like Roswell they get into that in the documentary as well. Roswell, you have to call that into question as well. Just how that story is presented. And somehow we're living in a world after all of this, after the Bennewitz Affair, after people have uncovered so much stuff. I think the big thing that I would say is, and I don't mean this in a totally negative way, but Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks, the documentary, isn't really divulging something new. But what it does manage to do is present things on a timeline with a fairly complete look at all the people and things involved. And that is novel in a way in the documentary format. And to me, I think what made this especially fantastic is all of the archival footage, all of the sound clips. I hadn't heard most of that before. A lot of that, I don't know if when I originally researched the Bennewitz Affair that I had ever heard what Bennewitz sounded like.
Yeah.
So that's an overview. I mean, Niall, you can go ahead and jump in if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll talk, since you talked about kind of the topic. Let me talk a bit about the documentary just from a kind of stylistic point of view, because I think I kind of love the style and tone and presentation of this documentary. So you have a narrator, kind of, in the guy that wrote the book,
Adam Gorightly. Yep.
Yeah, Adam Gorightly. He is, and the kind of framing device is it's him sitting in basically like a wood panel basement with some like CRT TVs next to him, and like various players, and he's just like loading. Occasionally it'll cut to him like talking and then loading a new tape into the VHS that then pops up and you watch it. And so the whole thing is like a clip show mixed with a guy just cutting in to give you context, to give you like framing for tangents that then will tie back in later, and he'll kind of like succinctly guide you through this web of conspiracy in a way that is really I think is pretty effective. Like I think that this documentary, I when we finished watching it, I was talking, I forget if one of you was in the bathroom and the other, I was talking to the other one, but I was talking about like, this documentary is pretty informative, but it remembers that it at times has to be a little bit entertaining. There's some like archival footage of non-UFO specific stuff, like cuts of like movies and like sound effects, stock stuff, and like it mixes in a variety of pop culture in a way that like hammers its point home and continues the narrative while not just like being a lot of static shots of someone talking.
Yeah.
And I think the kind of visual style of this as it's cut together really helps to keep the pacing of the information from feeling monotonous. Like it gives you these little breaks with him, and then it also gives you some like more interesting things to look at as it's guiding you through this stuff that kind of like it's really a satisfying visual presentation of the information in a way that you don't normally get in documentaries in this field, you know?
Yeah, no, I think this is the thing, right? So there's been UFO documentaries coming out pretty regularly. There was a big one that came out last year. I don't know exactly who it was. But it was like Age of Disclosure or something.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that and I was just instantly turned the fuck off. Because it's the same UFO disclosure slop we've been getting for so long now.
Yeah, we're in that era hardcore right now.
It's especially gratuitous to, and what I find so bizarre too is that people will hype up a new documentary about UFO disclosure, like taking disclosure of the UFO phenomenon and aliens very seriously. It will every like year or so, when a new, like, people will kind of treat it like it's they're gonna get something new from it.
This one's finally gonna blow the lid off the whole thing.
Yeah. So and I don't think that this documentary is about blowing the lid off of anything, and you know, that's, I think, one important thing. But like you said, it's also having fun. It's taking the subject like seriously, but not so seriously as something like Age of Disclosure would, or presumably what Age of Disclosure is like. I didn't watch it because I don't want to. I feel like maybe it's a podcast watch, but like it looks so stupid.
I mean, it might be interesting to look at a big. We kind of did that with the Spielberg miniseries, where we looked at like what does the current state. But that was, you know, that's a Spielberg produced thing that in reality seems like it was him doing background research for the movie that he's putting out this year, which I'm excited about. But it would be kind of interesting to see what the like hypey current doc looks like, but I'm guessing it will be more interesting in theory than it is in reality, because if we watch it, we're gonna turn it on and it's gonna be like, oh, it's just one of these, and the episode might be a little aggrieved.
yeah. So this is not your typical UFO documentary bullshit, which is great. This is very, it's well researched. Again, it's based on a book that's established all this stuff, but it's having fun and it's got so much cool and interesting stuff in it. So to me, I think my big takeaway watching this was, one, if you're a nerd about this stuff, if you're a nerd about UFOs, if let's say you did a podcast for 10 years about UFOs, this is very good. This is this is a great thing to watch, I think.
Yeah.
The thing that I kept thinking to myself, though, is how incomprehensible is some of this to somebody who doesn't know stuff about UFOs. That was the only negative thought in my mind, and it's not really a negative. It's just like, I wonder, like, if I sat this down in front of somebody who doesn't really know what's going on, which I guess we sort of had Jules there as an experiment, but she's been exposed to our bullshit,
she lives with me and is friends with you, and like has so I think I ran down Paul Bennewitz for her when that episode was happening, because my brain, like, sometimes when I get out of recording these episodes, I sometimes have to go just like, okay, and just like rant for 5 minutes about whatever the topic was, because like it's just some of them just stick in your brain in that way, and it's like, this is so, I just have to put this somewhere. And so she gets debriefed on some of the podcast episodes, and so she like she had a good time, but and she also wasn't entirely lost. I do think that there is something to be said. I want to there are probably people that would get very kind of overwhelmed by this and not be able to keep up with it if they don't know anything. But I also think there is like something to be said for people, because I always think about the first conspiracy documentary I ever watched was fucking what's that thing called, stupid movie called?
A Loose Change?
It came out when no, it's the other one.
Shit, I know what you're talking about.
Starts with a Z.
It's not Zeitgeist, is it?
No, it is Zeitgeist.
It is Zeitgeist? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that was like such just, that was the if that was the like conspiracy version of it, like, these people were people that were kind of not believing the disinformation and kind of breaking down the problems, whereas that one was just like someone ranting at you with like a conspiracy blog post for an hour and a half, jumping from thing to thing, and it is really overwhelming. But there, for a certain type of person, and that's the kind of person I am, a dense thing like that, it leaves you just going, okay, I've got to look up like 47 things, and you just kind of end up going down a rabbit hole. And I'm lucky that I didn't go down the believing it rabbit hole. I went down the like, this stuff doesn't actually track rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But I think that there is, if you're the type of person that likes just to get thrown into the deep end, I think this would be a very satisfying watch if you don't know anything.
Yeah, you're probably right. But the thing is also, like, I try to imagine, like, they're going from, like, oh, they say things like, oh, it's Cosmic Watergate, to here's the, like, multiple different permutations of Roswell, to, whatever. There's so many different things, which, like, to their credit, it's super hard to distill all these things that are relevant, because the Bennewitz Affair, like I said, you can sort of branch off because it relates to so many things in the UFO mythos over decades and decades of it. You can just go down a million different paths. So while I'm saying that it might be hard to follow, maybe it's also doing something that is very, I think, super difficult. And we should bring up that I think that there is a very good complementary, less I don't want to say complicated, but it's a little more streamlined,
a little more focused, I would say.
Mirage
this
Men
kind of takes a wider stance, and Mirage Men is a little more narrow focused.
Right, exactly. Because Mirage Men is a lot about Rick Doty and it's a little more focused, which is, again, they're accomplishing different things and they have different tones, and it is also relevant to this documentary. And I think what I would almost recommend is considering this almost like a companion piece to Mirage Men. I don't, there's nothing stated in the thing that's the case, but it's, Mark Pilkington's in the documentary. They have clips from Mirage Men in here. But that one gives you the more streamlined, focused version of the Bennewitz stuff, and this one is just like, here's all the like they're bringing in all the hits from a bunch of different places. So
yeah, MJ12, Dulce Bait, like we're getting
Project
we're going
Serpo.
Into all this stuff.
We're talking about
even
Kit Green.
UFO Cover Up Live.
Yeah, which I love. I love that so much. It's interesting that UFO Cover Up Live in the last couple of years. I mean, okay, let's be real. Let me be very direct in saying this. I think the reason UFO Cover Up Live has been especially getting a little more traction in the last couple of years, and certainly from my perspective, is the great writer Robert Skvarla, who has done tons of great work on conspiracies, UFOs. I think their focus was actually researching COINTELPRO. Look up Robert Skvarla. Great work.
Yeah, a great follow on any social media platform.
Yeah, 100%. So, point being, having UFO Cover Up Live footage and stuff in here too is great. Because they talk about the absurdity of it and the sort of like con job of it, which is also fantastic. But I made you watch that, didn't I?
Yeah, we watched.
Yeah. It's so bad it's good. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good TV. Like it is the kind of thing that a parody of a poorly run TV live TV show.
Yes.
It's that, but it's real. Like it is. Stuff doesn't work all the time. They have to like have awkward transitions between segments. The people aren't really like good at hosting this kind of show. Like, it has all of those things in it. It's sure the only thing that could have been added to it is a piece of the set falling over, you know?
Yeah. It's so funny because like they highlight in this documentary the clips where people are very clearly reading off of cue cards. It's really great. So, geez, I mean, plus Dulce Bass is in here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all in here. They have, which again, you were talking about the Junichi Yaoi thing. They have the recreation of the supposed battle that took place at Dulce. And it's just, yeah, that stuff had me, chef's kiss. I love seeing that. But there were things that I don't know if I ran across in I think a lot of this I want to revisit just personally, especially after I read these books. There was like the thing where they fly Bennewitz out. I can't remember if I covered this. They take Bennewitz. The Air Force is like, oh yeah. A part of the thing with him is that they keep feeding him and nourishing his paranoia about aliens invading the Earth with UFOs. That the Air Force does this through a number of different avenues. The big one that gets talked about is Rick Doty, of course. But they have this whole segment where they like took Paul Bennewitz out over the desert and like to a totally different area, and they made props for him to see.
Yeah, I mean, parts of downed alien craft and stuff. Like, it was they have pictures of them that impose like what it's supposed to be. Like, you get to see all of that in this documentary, and it is fascinating.
It's so crazy. So like, there is the conversation of why do this, and they kind of cover that. There's the possibility that, people seeing secret tech that shouldn't be seen yet. This is the pretty obvious answer. One of the less obvious answers that I think is worth considering is just the fact that they would maybe want to test out some sort of perception management thing with the public and how they can use UFOs to control that perception of things, which they kind of get into in the documentary as well.
Because like you think about most of the stuff that they put forth in the stuff that they're feeding these people that are faked, hoaxed UFO documents and stuff, it positions the military as like the main character of the UFO phenomenon, and that is kind of crucial to the mythology that is built by the disinformation agents that are then like that is also then being used to cover even more stuff that the government wants to, like, it creates this feedback loop of keeping everyone's interest into things that they know that they cannot get to because it's military secrets, and it hypes up the important. Like, it's the effectively propaganda. Like the in a way, the whole extraterrestrial hypothesis put forth in American ufology over the past 40 years is effectively propaganda. Like, it's Law and Order, but for UFOs. You know, it's hyping up the military.
Yeah, it's definitely partly that. I think there's also the angle that you can look at it from the almost... I don't know how to talk about this. There's got to be a word I could come up with, but like when you look at MK Ultra, which is ultimately about it's partly about that perception management and that mass control of people's understanding of the narrative, if you will.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this feels, right? So there is some sort of I joke about we live in MK Ultra world because the internet is making everybody just like not able to understand reality most of the time, including myself. And what this story, even after knowing everything, the ability to grasp reality just sort of dissolves, right? Like, I think that's also an angle to all of this that's worth suggesting. Like, it functionally serves to, center the military in this way, but also cover up tech, but also just control the narrative surrounding UFOs forever. And somehow we're still doing this thing, like I mentioned, where we're doing disclosure bullshit. And then some weird spooks get to come out and like claim to be whistleblowers for a UFO program or something, or they talk about they get into this a little bit with oh Jesus Christ, the guy who bought Skinwalker Ranch, whose name is
Bigelow.
not Bigelow. Like that, you know, people get to make some money off the situation. People get to sow disinformation. People get to control what the reality is, what the narrative is. And it's, you know, so I think that the goal here, if it's even worth speculating what the goal of making fucking fake props to destroy the mind of a single scientist who believes in UFOs, the goals are there are multiple. There are a number of possible things. You could even, and like the other thing that's also worth considering is just that, you know, like let's specifically look at Rick Doty. Yeah, okay, he could be specifically like sent out to target this guy to sow disinformation on behalf of like military intelligence or whatever. You could also just consider that at some point he just is a serial liar, who's like maybe he's just fucking with him. So you can never get at the absolute truth with any of this. And I think that is ultimately the point with so much of this. And doing this show for so long now, you read a story, you read a story about UFOs and stuff, and you sort of come away going like, I don't know what happened here. Like I've been going back in my mind to God, I wish I was better with names. I'm so sorry, listeners. I'm so bad at recalling people's names sometimes. But the story about the guy in England who saw a UFO and took like parts from it, and then the Bufora members get involved, and then their tape recordings start getting hacked by supposedly aliens and stuff. And then you find out that now here's a name I'll remember because I can't forget it. Bosko Nedeljkovic says that was actually an MK Ultra operation akin to VS Boas. Throwing out a lot of names here, but like you hear that and you're like, I no longer know what's real. I no longer have any idea what happened here. It's a crazy story. So clearly something weird happened here.
Yep.
It could have just been the fact that this guy's tumor was giving him some sort of delusion, or there could have been, you know, feds fucking, I don't know, hijacking the entire situation. So, yeah. Anyways, that was a long rant to say that this documentary sort of does a good job of illustrating just how ridiculous the absurd lengths that some of these operations go to just fuck with somebody.
Yeah, it really does. Like, the things that this documentary does best are give you a kind of through line through all of this stuff, where you get it kind of presents it in a chronological order with some digressions that lays it out pretty clearly. And then also that it ties, like, it very quickly shows how much the story never changes. They just like change the names and stuff. Like, the number of times they put some version of MJ-12 out to these people throughout history it's like it just keeps popping back up. They keep trying to like add to the mythology. It's interesting seeing how repetitive the disinformation gets.
Yeah,
you know,
because they also get into A Strange Harvest and God damn it, the lady behind A Strange
Laura
Harvest.
Moulton Howe.
Yeah, Linda Moulton Howe. Linda Moulton Howe. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names, but Linda Moulton Howe, who I want to do an episode on, by the way. I really want to talk about her because there's a lot of weird stuff surrounding her. But they also very clearly fucked with her.
Yep.
And so it keeps coming back, but you have to then also think that, like, with the internet now, you don't have to target an individual to make these stories drive people insane. You can do it on a much wider scale. Also, speaking of being driven insane, the one thing that one of the things that really bothered me when I originally read the Bennewitz story is how he has that story where he's hanging out with another guy and they see an orb of light in the corner of his room, and Bennewitz just kind of waves it away. He's like, those are there all the time now. And that whole story, and how he would get like the burns on himself, like the pinprick burns on his arm.
Yeah.
And I always was like, what the fuck happened there? But then this documentary kind of lays a pretty good suggestion down, which is the direct energy weapons experiments. Like, which I would have never considered because I'm stupid. But like, they do a good job of like showing that it's entirely feasible that they could just beam a ball of light and then zap Bennewitz. And now you can't say anything definitively about that, but like, how else do you sort of explain that experience? Or like, actually, if we go back to the story I just mentioned of the British UFO guy who had the tumor in his brain and all that, there's also the weird thing where one of the Bufora members is sitting at home and suddenly gets like a ringing in his ears and a splitting headache and stuff, and it's all surrounding those weird tape recordings that were hijacked by entities claiming to be aliens or something. It's such a bizarre. I don't know what to make of that. And I mean, when it feels paranoid to say that maybe they're shooting people with fucking beams, but like, these are also the people who invented, the heart attack gun and stuff like.
And also, you have. The thing that one of the things that I remember most from our Bennewitz saga, along with the thing, it also gets brought up in this documentary, and they show a nice like rendering of what it is the NSA bought the house across the street, and were firing their own, like, basically because the guy was picking up radio, because Bennewitz has a history in making like sensors and equipment for like military funds and stuff. He makes a thing that can like intercept radio signals, and so, to keep him from getting the actual signals from the base, they buy the house across the street and fire radio signals that are fake and talking about like Dulce Basin shit into his house specifically, so that his instruments only pick up the fake ones, not the ones that are actually from the military base. And this is how they implant like a lot of the alien narrative into his stuff, and like because he thinks he's picking up stuff from the base specifically.
Yeah.
And it like when you think about how the lengths they will go to target and create this entire false thing, and the technology involved and everything, it really, I understand how you end up a paranoid wreck You know?
Yeah. What they effectively did is they gang stalked him into insanity.
Yeah.
That's actually what happened. And oh god, the other part of that story with the signal where he's like trying to pick up those signals and then they interject their own signal because they're closer. That whole thing, they get into the story that I'd read where supposedly J. Allen Hynek delivered a computer to him personally. Which, if that's true, that's maybe J. Allen Hynek we need to research him some more, because I've also heard a story where J. Allen Hynek comes across as a very Men in Black type figure. So there's something weird there too, but that story is less easy to, and I think even in the documentary they say that's not totally certain, but there is some rumor about that.
They almost like insinuate that putting J. Allen Hynek in the story was specifically a thing that was done as misinformation to make it more unbelievable that it happened. Because it's like, why is the Project Blue Book guy dropping a computer off at your house?
Right.
That's just crazy.
Which,
like, that is what the, like, they either hired him so that the story he made and like they had Hynek go and do it, and that, or
they didn't, and they made it
a fake thing
yeah,
into the story where they were torturing a man,
right?
And like, this is how far your government will go to torture you to death.
Yeah, it's very perplexing, and you know, it's hard not to just see what we do know happened and say, why the fuck did this happen? Why the fuck did this happen? It's so weird. Jesus, yeah. So, God, I feel like I've been ranting. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I do like this documentary goes all the way up to discussing Lou Elizondo and stuff like that. We can talk about, like, because they make a through line from like the Doty era of misinformation all the way up through now Luis Elizondo kind of taking over the op in some ways, you know, which is an interesting connection to make. And like, we have long had a very deep mistrust for anything coming from Lou Elizondo because of some stuff we did forever ago.
I really think anybody who's even somewhat decently read up on the history of UFOs has a distrust of Lou Elizondo, but he's also the person sort of one of the freaks dominating the conversation right now. I also remember reading, this is totally, I have to look this up. I don't know if this is actually true, because he was in I want to say the CIA, or I think basically I remember reading something about how Elizondo's dad was involved in Cuba during the, I want to say, Bay of Pigs.
Okay.
Which I remember thinking somebody may have linked to something called Project Mongoose.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if this is right. Sorry, give me 1 second. I think that's right. I think that's right, because Operation Mongoose, the Cuban project. So like, I remember seeing a thing that his dad may have been involved with, you know, the Cuban, like training these people in Cuba during Operation Mongoose. So, anyways, my point is, Lou Elizondo, like, you look at that guy, you read these things about his family, his connections, just literally what his job was. And you wonder how in the world people are allowing him to become the center of conversation around UFOs now. And frankly, I think you could look to your sort of idea that the military has sort of become central to the UFO mythology. That like government and military is central there, and that then allows this perpetuating thing for people like Elizondo to step in and assert their authority over the whole situation, and they can claim whatever the hell they want. So yeah, it's an aside, but yeah, the whole Elizondo thing is just so it's just I can't believe it works. There's something that feels very inauthentic to it. Like, but the fact of the matter is that there are people authentically into what was it, ATIP, OSAP, all those newer quote unquote projects and stuff, and the contemporary UFO scene does sort of give a shit about this stuff, and I don't know why.
I kind of forgot that Lou Elizondo kind of got launched by Tom DeLonge's Journey to the Stars Foundation.
Right.
Which also, like, it's funny how one of the big things that this documentary kind of posits is a lot of the disinformation that happens is very opportunistic. They seize onto somebody who is looking for stuff and kind of willing to play the game. Like, they talk about Bill Moore, who, to get secret information, he would inform on the UFO community effectively. You've got Tom DeLonge, who wants to find out stuff. At first he's talking to a couple generals and stuff, and then he immediately gets like siphoned off to Lou Elizondo and like Chris Green and the other guy, and like it immediately hijacks the narrative, and they use it to soft launch Lou Elizondo. It like they really will grapple onto anyone who has like some heat in the UFO community. Like, I loved, one of my favorite parts of this whole documentary is the reactions of the people that you've been watching throughout, like, because a lot of the people are in commenting on everything throughout this documentary because they researched it or were involved in it, whatever. But then they get to the point where Tom DeLonge gets awarded like ufologist of the year at some conference. Yeah. And it just is cutting to people that you've been watching this whole documentary, and they're all just like, yeah, that was like, what the fuck was that? Okay. All of a sudden Tom DeLonge got an award, and no one had any idea what the fuck was going on. And it just, everyone is so immediately dismissive of it. It's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's something to be said for stoking the ego of a useful idiot who cares so much about this stuff that is now deeply entrenched in the military and government cover-ups and all this stuff. Like, and I think that's sort of probably how he finds useful idiot is probably the best description of some of these people who get roped in to becoming disinfo spreaders, I guess. They also talk about Bob Lazar too, who just kind of rehashes the Dulce Base folklore for his own bullshit. Which every time I see Bob Lazar these days, I'm just so annoyed. I hate he like pops up online with relative free, like every couple months. I feel like if you go and look at UFO stuff on social media, he's just there again somehow, and it's like how. It's like Lou Elizondo. How are we letting these people keep talking and being a part of the narrative? I don't know.
Yeah.
And the Phil Schneider stuff too.
Yep.
Which that's
Phil Schneider.
That's a whole weird thing where I think they basically say that he was a schizophrenic who just kind of took the story and ran with it, and I do want, but I don't know whether they don't really hint this, but I do wonder if maybe he was sort of at one point contacted by somebody who knew that they were just about to plant a seed that was going to be potentially wild, because he does go off and talk extensively about his version of aliens and he's sorry, to be clear, this is a guy who claims to have survived the Dulce Base battle with the aliens.
Yeah. And he also basically gave himself radiation poisoning and cancer over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So sad story.
Yeah, I mean, what can you even say about that? So where do we go to next here? I'm
trying to remember what other tangents we go down, because there's like, they do talk a lot about Majestic 12, because that's a pretty common thing that gets pushed by these disinformation agents. I love there's one dude that I forget, he's like the he's the one that is most just like, yeah, that was just like he's the most dismissive of people in the documentary, and I kind of love him. He's like a cranky guy in front of a big bookcase with a big beard, and he I forget his name. I wish I remembered which one he was, but he's my favorite talking head in the documentary because he just is always like kind of, he's one of the best reactions to the Tom DeLonge thing. He's just like laughing at it and being very entertained.
Yes.
Do you remember who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know his name. I'm sorry, but he was great. I mean, I think people should just watch the documentary, frankly.
For sure.
This was a very note-taking watch for us. So, yeah, I mean, we got all the fucking players here. Everybody that you want to know about, they touch on even just a little bit, and they get into some stuff that I think the problem for me talking about this now is I don't remember what I talked about and what I learned after doing the original disinformation episodes that we did. Because, like, they talk about Bill Moore having a degree in Russian and the angle of, you know what, I think we did talk about this on your UFO Cover-Up Live, because there's a Russian angle to UFO Cover-Up Live, and they're kind of pointing out how, like, by doing that with this weird documentary, or not documentary, this TV special, they were like guaranteed to get Russian assets to watch it.
Yeah.
You know?
And they also were like, we might as well have the Russian people on there because we can get like a sense of what the Russian UFO people are thinking. Like it was entirely this, in some ways, the people that in the government concerned about the UFO community were like tweaking what was on UFO Cover-Up Live to like get the right information out there and get like try to figure out what the Russians are thinking and also like cover up for others. Like it's a really interesting chess game of like how much went into UFO Cover-Up Live and how big of a like, you know, lightning rod of the disinformation angle for a lot of things. Because like the Doty Condor Falcon
oh my god
stuff is wild. It's, and like they even insinuate that Doty is like almost playing the role of a different guy who's the real Falcon.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's really interesting. It's worth the time.
Or just the sheer absurdity, like making the entire thing look so stupid by putting in little bits like, oh, the alien likes to eat strawberry ice cream and likes Tibetan throat singing. Like,
yeah,
it's really just making the people who take this stuff seriously, it makes the whole thing look so stupid. It's also a smear job in a way, as well as disinformation. So, I mean, overall, this documentary is, I think, for the UFO heads, maybe first and foremost. I think the people who are going to be super into this are people who are already into UFOs.
Yeah.
But I think also people who aren't into UFOs, who are now curious about UFOs because of the last couple years of bullshit we're going through, should definitely watch this.
Yeah,
that's my recommendation. I think like I have half a mind to say I have family who constantly ask me about the news that was coming out about UFOs. Just like, what was it, like 2 years ago? Maybe people are
yeah. I loved the breakdown of getting the Tic Tac footage out there. Like,
yeah,
the how
it existed way before the actual, you know,
and it was never classified, and it was like propped up by like the Tom DeLonge stuff and the Lou Elizondo stuff. Like they do a good job of just like showing. Remember how when that footage was really getting pushed really hard, and people were watching it and going, "Oh,
whoa,
that's all it is."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it was never actually good footage. Like if you wanted to, the Navy would have given that to you 20 years ago. Like, it's nothing. It never was anything.
Right, but people see that, and they see the sources that it's coming from, supposedly, and they're going, oh my God, it's confirmed. I mean, you have any idea how many texts and discussions I had with people who are like, hey, Kyle's the UFO guy. Does he know that they're real now? Like,
yeah,
I
had those too.
I had so many of those. And I just kind of was like, I don't trust it. I do remember reading people uncovering the footage and it being way older than it actually was sort of presenting itself as, and it's basically irrelevant and stuff. I remember that being uncovered and stuff, but like, also, when you tell that to somebody who's asking you, who's pressing you on the UFO stuff, it's kind of like, who cares? It proves UFOs are real because the military say they're real now. So, yeah, this does a really great job of showing. I often think when people talk to me about UFO stuff, just like that, where I'm like, I don't know how to distill the decades of stories I've now digested. To come to the conclusion that the UFO mythology is a con job. Yeah. But this documentary does maybe one of the best jobs of doing that.
Yeah, I love those questions from people because depending on how they ask, you can kind of tell what they're looking for. Some people want the fun answer where you talk about, like, you bring up like crazy UFO stories and it's like, no one really knows what happened. Ooh. And those people, if you start to go into like how it's probably all just like a psyop, you know, like how it's all just like the government disinformation and covering for military projects and sowing disinformation and discontent. Like, if you go into those things, people just look at you like you grew a third head, because no one wants to hear that when it comes to, because it sounds paranoid. Like, you think back to the whole thing that, you know, conspiracy theorists love to say, which is, you know, the term conspiracy theorist was invented by the CIA or whatever. And like, there's I kind of understand why that gets so repeated in conspiracy circles. 'Cause like if you try to say what is actually the most reasonable explanation for a lot of these things, people who are not in the know look at you like you're losing your mind and you're paranoid. And it in some ways, it was very successful. This whole documentary shows just how successful they've been over, you know, however many years.
Yeah, 100%. So with all that being said, Niall, who is this documentary for? I guess we kind of answered this. I think a broader, a better answer that I would say more definitively is this documentary is for everybody.
Yeah. I think there is something, like, there's a difference between who is this for and who should this be for, I think, with this one, because I think you're right that it's for everybody. Like, if you have even a passing interest in any of this stuff, I think you should watch it. And I 100% agree with you. I think this was like, the people that will actually watch this are UFO heads. But I just want to say this, maybe it's too late in the episode for these people. I don't know if they stick around this far. If you just listen to our show for like cryptids, I know there are people out there that just like don't really get into the conspiracy stuff and listen to cryptids, paranormal, weird stories, etc. Even if you're that kind of person, give this documentary a shot. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like to approach all this stuff as a Fortean. You know, I like all of it. It's just that the dimensions of the UFO story, that's capital S story, are so ridiculous and co-opted by these, you know, military and intelligence people that it's hard not to, I don't know, get really, really invested in the UFO story, the UFO community, the UFO world. And yeah, so I think people, and also I just kind of want to put this in front of people who keep bugging me about UFOs. Thankfully, the UFO bullshit with the, you know, Tic Tac and whatever hasn't been in the news cycle lately. but every time UFO stuff and alien stuff comes up in the news, somebody inevitably talks to me about it. I just want them to watch this so that I don't have to explain.
Hey, people who are creators of this documentary, do you want to give us a referral code?
Please. I'll reach out to Mr. Gorightly. We follow each other on Blue Sky, and I'll see if we can work out some sort of deal for listeners of for listeners of It Gets Weird. We're gonna see if we can hook you up with a special deal. That's not a guarantee. But
in reality, this thing's $5 to rent, $10 to buy. Just go support these people because they did a really good job and made something like. You've listened, if you're listening to this episode, you've probably listened to other FYD episodes in the past and have heard how we talk about things on these episodes. This is not like a lot of the FYD episodes where where we're like, it kind of tells the story, but man, it's like really boring or it doesn't do the like. This isn't that. This is worth your time, worth supporting, worth paying attention to.
100%. We have slogged through so many horrible fucking documentaries, and this is one of the best ones we've ever watched. If not the best one, I mean, Mirage Men's up there too.
I think this is maybe the best one that wasn't made about a specific. Like I think of like Love and Saucers and Curse the Maze, which are more humanist stories inside of the conspiracy world. This is one of the best flat out like explaining a conspiracy theory documentaries that I've watched.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, Curse the Man Who Sees UFOs and Love and Saucers are two really great documentaries that I love. Definitely a different thing going on there. This is for sure. So everybody should watch this, especially if you have any desire. If you're somehow listening to this and you're like, I should ask Kyle about the Tic Tac UFO. Don't ever do that. Just watch this instead. It'll be functionally the same but better, as the explanation that I would give you if people keep approaching me about that question. So I guess what I'm saying is shut the fuck up.
Yeah. That's a good note to go out on. If you ask Kyle about the Tic Tac UFO footage, you should just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, I'll never tell my family members who ask me about this shit. I'm about to go see family I haven't seen in years who know I do this. I'm 100%, and it's like a big side of the family. 100% people are going to ask me about that bullshit, and I just can't wait to be like, shut the fuck up, go watch Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks, and do not contact me.
Yeah, hey, if there's a physical release, send us a couple copies and we'll push it out into the world. I do think it would be fun for you to give a rundown of all the questions you get asked at family functions. So whenever that happens, keep track of whatever you were asked about, and then we can talk about it next time.
I will. We should talk about it next time. I will tell you right now, the one that keeps coming back that I hate answering. I hate answering because I always say something that gets the stare of like, oh, you're an insane person. Mm-hmm. They will ask me, and I'm curious if you've ever gotten this one. They'll ask me after doing it for so long, is there a conspiracy theory that you now believe in? And what they expect is I'm going to be like, oh, birds aren't real. I think that might be real. That might be a real conspiracy. And then, but then I give them a real answer. And it's something like this documentary, and they're like, "Oh, that's not very fun for me." I thought you were gonna say that the fucking CIA killed JFK.
No, I think Paul is Dead actually has
Paul McCartney is dead.
It's never something fun. It's always like, oh no, I think that the Navy killed fucking whatever. It's always something like that, which is not nearly as fun of an answer.
And to be clear, this is a little bit of my own fault because I should have the self-awareness to give a fake answer to that question, but I don't like to lie to my family. In fact, if you ask me that and I start talking about stuff like Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks, it's because I'm genuinely into that. So, and this, anyways, I guess we've praised this documentary enough. Hopefully people get just feel sold on the documentary from our discussion here, because again, people go out there, rent this, buy this, check it out. It's worth your time.
Agreed. All right. Well, do you want to run down our compressed business?
Sure.
So we're on most social media platforms. If you look up It Gets Weird, you'll probably find it. We're also on all the podcatchers. Wherever you listen to podcasts, look up It Gets Weird, and we're probably there.
We're on twitch.tv/itgetsweird. I'm going to be getting back to finishing that Pokemon Fire Red Nuzlocke run with friend of the show, Colin, very soon. Email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to answer some more fan mail. I do need to go back and double check that nobody's contacted us in the last couple of weeks because it's been very busy. But hit us up there. Send us your stories. Send us your thoughts. We love to hear from you. And that's where you do it. It gets weird podcast@gmail.com. Just let us know how we should address you, and your story might get read on the show. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $1 tier, a $2 tier, and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is the tip tier. It's like a tip jar. You're saying, hey, thanks for doing what you do. Here's $1. At the $2 tier, you get It Gets Weird TV every other week, where Niall and I are talking about weird television. We're in the back half of season 3 of The X-Files, and we just watched maybe my favorite episode ever, Jose Chung's From Outer Space. So that was fucking great. We talked for like 90 plus minutes on that one, and it was a good time. So check that out. That's at the $2 tier. Most bang for your buck is the $5 tier. You get another bonus show in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV called World of Weird. Niall and I talk about whatever the hell we want. A lot of the show resembles our typical tangents on the main show, but kind of put into a containment podcast. So check that out. At the $5 tier, you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Huge back catalog of bonus content for you to listen to. Hundreds of hours at this point. So check it out. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to the Discord where we're hanging out, chatting with our listeners, just like you right now. So please donate to patreon.com/itgetsweird. Or if you can't donate, money's tight, we get it. Tell people about us. Tell your friends and family about us. Tell random strangers on the bus, at the bar, at the doctor's office. You're sitting there, you're waiting to get your teeth worked on by the dentist. Turn to a stranger and say, listen to It Gets Weird podcast. And then go back to what you're doing as if nothing ever happened. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.
Peace.